Okay, today we're going to look at Round Midnight. So according to Wikipedia, this is the most recorded jazz standard by a jazz musician. So I guess that means that tunes like Autumn Leaves are actually not written by jazz musicians, but rather from musicals and stuff like that. So anyway, it's a very recorded, very covered tune. So that means that there are a lot of different versions of the changes, which causes some problems when you call this tune on a jam or a gig or whatever. So we're gonna take a look at some of the different changes to see if I can sort out some of the confusion and maybe get some ideas from different players, how they treat this tune, especially Wes Montgomery, and see if that can help you with playing over this tune and play jazz playing in general. So first off, let's look at the tune. Right off the bat, we're in trouble because it's in E flat minor. And we have to live with that. So let's open up the real book and look at the first A section. So it's AABA form. And the A section starts with the melody as this, like this. So according to the real book, the changes are E flat minor, C minor 7 flat 5, F minor 7 flat 5, and B flat altered. See what that sounds like? What you can do is you can play the melody and the bass notes at the same time, which is actually a really good technique. You can do a lot with just the melody and bass notes. Right? Or you can, if you can throw in some chords there. Now, the problem is nobody really plays these changes, in my experience. This just goes to show that the real book is not really a very reliable source for correct information. So maybe there is a version of this tune or with these changes that I'm not aware of. So if you know of where these changes are coming from, please let me know in the comments. But the changes that most people play, I think, are these. E flat minor, D in the bass, D flat in the bass, and then C minor 7 flat 5, A flat minor, D flat 7. So that would sound like this instead, right? A flat, D flat. Right? That sounds better to me, and I'm pretty sure that those are the changes that most people play. So one of my favorite recordings of this tune is Wes Montgomery. I think it's the first. It's like my introduction to jazz guitar was hearing Wes Montgomery play this tune, and I'm pretty sure it's the first jazz guitar solo that I transcribed. Fantastic album, fantastic recording. He plays these changes, so E flat minor, E flat minor over D flat, and then B or C flat 7, B flat altered. Gives you more of a kind of a bluesy feel because you get that A in the B7. Actually, it sounds like a rock ballad especially if you transpose it to, let's say, E minor. And doing that can help you demystify this tune, because if you look at the real book or a chart of this tune, you see all these, the key is tricky and there's so many chords can be kind of daunting. So if you just by transposing it a half step up makes it a little bit easier, especially for us guitar players, because we kind of like E minor. Then we have E flat minor, a 2-5 to A flat. Then we have this chromatic 2-5, half step chromatic approach, right? I've talked about that before. A flat minor. So then we have a 2-5, another 2-5, A flat to G flat major 7, A flat dominant. Some people play E flat minor instead of the A flat. They're pretty similar, right? If I just throw in a A flat in the bass, or sorry, E flat in the bass, it becomes an E flat minor. And then 2-5 to the dominant. Right? And then the second A, it ends in major. It's worth noting that it ends, the melody note is the actual tonic, the E flat, which causes a little bit of a, anytime that happens, it's a little bit, we have to be a little bit careful, because a lot of people think that automatically when you see a major chord you should play major 7. It's kind of what I consider a jazz damage. If you're damaged by jazz school, you think that you have to add major 7 on a major chord. You don't have to. Try it is fine, or even add 9, right? So some people play so they kind of playing that major 7 but resolving it. So just be careful with that note so you don't play a major 7 when whoever is singing or playing the melody is playing the tonic note, because then it will clash. Wes Montgomery plays, and then he goes chromatically down to the D, which is the 5th of the sub 5 of the G flat. Then, instead of going to A flat dominant there, he plays a B sus, an F sharp minor to a B7, which is a half step above the next 2-5. So he goes F sharp minor, B7, F minor, B flat 7. Again, he's adding a chromatic 2-5 there, which enables him to play this great F sharp minor kind of blues lick. So actually, let's listen to that. And I remember when I transcribed that solo at really young age, I was totally confused. Like, how can he play F sharp minor blues pentatonic whatever over this tune? It doesn't make any sense. But I wasn't aware of the chromatic 2-5 concept. Then over the F minor to B flat, instead of playing a B flat altered material, he plays an E flat blues, which is another one of those things which theory books don't tell you. They say, well, B flat altered chord calls for an altered scale or some kind of altered scale, but you can play the blues scale of the key we're in, which is E flat minor, because that chord creates a lot of tension, and the blues scale creates tension as well. So in theory it doesn't really add up, but in reality it works great, as you can hear when Wes Montgomery's playing. So those chords there, the F sharp minor and B7. For some reason it says G flat minor instead of F sharp. I couldn't get Finale to change that. It's really annoying, but anyway. If you decide to play those chords when you're playing this tune, you need to kind of let the other players know beforehand, because those are not the common changes that most people play. Even though this is a really famous recording, you still have to kind of make sure that everybody's on the same page if those are the changes that you want to play. Oh yeah, the real book, another example of how the real book is not very trustworthy is that it says that A section ends with an E flat minor chord, which again, I have never heard anybody play minor there. And I've listened to a lot of versions of this tune. So again, if you know a version where they play E flat minor at the end of the A section, let me know, because I hear major everywhere. And before that major chord, there's this fancy thing you can do, which is C minor 7 flat 5, B dominant flat 5, B flat sus, resolve, or regular dominant E flat, C, B flat sus, B flat dominant. Okay, I apologize if you can hear my neighbors talking. I'm gonna move out of this place, so this is one of the last videos I'm gonna make in this apartment, and then I will have a good place where I can make really good videos. So I'll keep you posted on updates on that, because they just keep talking. So sorry about that. Where were we? Oh yeah, the B section. So B section starts with the C minor 7 flat 5, F7, B flat 7. Wes Montgomery plays just B there. Right? But then is where the confusion starts. The real book says A flat minor, D flat to G flat major, and B7 to B flat, and E flat dominant, D flat dominant. So you can also throw in the related minor 2 chord to each of those dominants at the end there. So B flat minor, E flat, F sharp minor, B, F minor or F minor 7 flat 5, B flat, back to the A section. Remember that this tune is in minor, which means that the tonic chord you can treat a little bit different than you normally treat minor chords. You can play minor major 7s or minor 6 there, because it's a tonic minor. I've talked about that before. You have to be, however, a little bit careful doing that depending on who is singing or playing, so you don't interfere too much with the soloist or the melody. But I think it's a great sound when you go like. That's a minor major 9, I guess. Then there's a different set of changes that I've seen people play. So instead of the 2-5, you go A flat minor, bass go down to G flat, and then an F minor 7 flat 5, B flat alter, and then same thing from E flat minor, E flat minor with D flat in the bass, C minor 7 flat 5, and then so I'm not sure where those chords are coming from. So please, you out there who knows where these changes are coming from, who recorded them, please let me know. I love learning stuff like that. But people have shown me these changes, and I've seen people play them, or I've heard people play them on gigs. Now, this section of the tune, Wes Montgomery plays very different. So if you're gonna do the Wes Montgomery changes here, you really have to let the band know beforehand. So he plays a longer A flat minor, D flat. He goes A flat minor, D flat, G, and then he goes A flat minor, D flat, G minor, F sharp, so chromatically down. Actually, let's listen to that. So it's a chromatic 2/5 deluxe. And notice how beautifully and effortlessly he outlines those chords. He just plays a triad. Right? Super simple, but very effective and genius. And then for the F minor, he plays the chord tones, resolving to the third of the B flat. Then he plays an E flat minor 6 voicing. So love that stuff. There's also an intro to the tune that I think Dizzy Gillespie came up with. So that intro was added later, as it were. And you don't have to play it. You don't always, if you call this tune on a jam, you're probably not going to play the intro. But it's a very famous intro, so it goes something like. So it's an A split, A minor 7 flat 5, D altered. Then go down a whole step to G, C altered, F, then he plays this really funny chord. It's a D triad over E flat. So very edgy chord. I mean, Thelonious Monk is known for kind of being very edgy in his playing. To me, he kind of defines jazz, because jazz is not supposed to be kind of, I don't know, it's not supposed to be pretty. It can be, but it's also can be very kind of almost annoying. The way he plays is, he kind of, it's in your face, and he's got a lot of attitude in his plays. There's a lot of kind of attitude in it. And I love it, but it's very hard to try to play like Monk. When you play Monk tunes, people think that you have to kind of try to play like him, but it easily turns into parody. So I try to avoid that kind of thing. But this chord, right, to me, it's kind of like, makes me think of his kind of attitude. What's his name? Kurt Rosenwinkel also plays this a little bit differently. So you might want to check out Kurt Rosenwinkel's version and recording of this tune is also really cool. So this tune has there's a lot of the flat 5 is always coming back, like in the intro, right? Or even, I think that's what Dizzy plays. gnarly note, right? It's a kind of a bebop thing, the tritone, and Thelonious Monk plays that tritone a lot. So you can use that kind of thing in the soloing or when you're playing a tune. So especially here at the end of the first A section. I hear a lot of people do that, so kind of like. Or even go like. It's kind of get that Monk feel. So a couple of advice on how to work on this tune. One thing is play the song in different keys just to demystify it. So try to play it in A minor or something, right? And you'll see that the chord progressions are pretty straightforward when you play them like that. You know, so it's kind of almost like a Led Zeppelin tune or something when you play them like that. And it's always good to learn tunes in different keys, right? So it makes you see how the chords relate and the melody relates to the chords and all that. Another thing is try to sing the melody. Try to analyze the melody. So it's a 5-1, right? Do, do, 1, 2, da, 5, flat 3, 1, 2, 5, flat 3, 1, 5, 4, do, 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 do. And the next notes could be do, da, 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 da. That note can be kind of tricky to find. So if you can really sing it, maybe try to play a pedal. Do, 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 da, da, da. Do, da, 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 do, do. Do, do, da, do, do. Do, da, 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 da. You know, pardon my voice. I don't have a singing voice, but it's a good thing to really hear those notes and make sure that you're hearing them correctly so that you... That's a great exercise to work on, and I would recommend transcribing the Wes Montgomery solo because it's a perfect example of a jazz guitar. It's kind of like the quintessential jazz guitar solo, so it's a lot to learn from that. And it's pretty easy to transcribe. It's not super difficult. Yeah, so another thing is Monk uses a lot of whole tone stuff. So this tritone thing could be considered derived from the whole tone scale. For example, he will play something like the same place there, the last 2 5 of the first A section. That. So let's listen to that. Right, so he plays like augmented triads, B flat augmented, and go down whole steps. He always plays these kind of... It's a very Monk thing, but it works better with the piano, I think, than guitar. So using the tritone and on a lot for the dominant chords gives you that kind of... adds to the monkish character to the tune. And whole tone. Don't be afraid to use the whole tone scale. It's this tune is great for whole tone. And so I'll leave you with a little bit of playing along with Wes Montgomery, and I shall see you next time.